today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So I'm going to start by saying congrats on your first feature.
Yeah.
I know you made like a TV movie, but this is like the first, big budget.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So I have to ask you, what was it? How long were you trying to make a feature? Do you know what I mean? Like it was one of these things where you went in on a ton of projects and you finally got the keys to this Ferrari?
Yeah. No. I've never actively chased a feature film. For me, it's all about the script. It's all about the story. It's all about why are we telling this story. Now, if that's a small little, half-hour TV show, or if that's a, massive, great blockbuster movie like this, then that's cool. I don't have a sort of burning desire to make a movie. All I'm interested in is telling, cool, purposeful, inspiring stories.
Talk a little bit about going in to meet for this, because obviously you must have pitched on this. I'm sure there was other people that maybe pitched as well. Talk a little bit about going into that room and trying to tell the studio your take on the material, and how nervous were you?
Well, it went the other way, actually.
Really?
Yeah. And actually, in truth, I met with the president of Lionsgate in Cannes about I think it was three years ago, and he'd just seen a TV show that I did called Peaky Blinders, and which he liked, and so he actually was, pitching it to me, saying, do you want to do a Robin Hood film? And I was like, why does the world need another Robin Hood film? So initially, I was like pretty reluctant to do it because I hadn't really understood what my view of Robin Hood was. Just the films I'd seen. I didn't understand what Robin Hood was, and I didn't realize who this guy was and what the opportunities of retelling this story were. So it was it was more just like and then we kind of talked and actually sort of talked more and realized that actually hang on, there's a really, really cool version of this film waiting to be told.
So one of the things I really like about this is that in like a lot of the other versions of Robin Hood, the sheriff's always after Marian. Like you flip a lot of stuff on its head.
Yeah.
Talk a little about that aspect of it, that this is not like a Robin Hood you've seen before.
Yeah, and that was the whole purpose. I mean, listen, there have been some great Robin Hood films. So I wasn't interested in adding to that legacy. I wanted to, and this Robin Hood story, it's been told over 600 years. There are hundreds and thousands of variations of this movie, of this story, I mean, and it's a myth. He never even existed, so it's like, to me, it was like taking that myth, taking that metaphor, and picking it up and dumping it, kicking and screaming into the 21st century, and making this kind of very, very modern, very visceral, very kind of resonant version of it that would hopefully kind of entertain and all that kind of stuff. But also, people would watch it and go, "Oh, hang on, that's really interesting," because I'm recognizing in the sheriff, a political leader. I'm recognizing in the church the same kind of oppression that goes on in the church now. I'm recognizing that war over there, is as unjust and as insane as that war that's being fought in the Middle East or whatever. There's a lot in there that kind of resonates for a 21st century audience. So, that's what my ambition was to make a very, very different version of it. There's no. In my mind, what's the purpose in making a sort of, a nice little pretty kind of gold-framed, sort of fairy tale that was set 600 years ago in a small town in the north of England? Fun to watch, but doesn't affect me in my life, doesn't affect you in your life. It's not going to resonate. It's not going to make you think, oh, hang on. It's not going to make you think. You're just going to watch it, enjoy it,
Sure.
But it's not going to have any reflection on how you're living or the choices you're making or what you're surrounded by and what's going on in society.
Nottingham is also radically different than any version we've seen before. It's a massive city, and it really looks like the center of like the country. Talk about designing the city, and because it's completely different.
Yeah. Everything you say is exactly what we intended. Listen, I mean, this film is historically insane. There's no historical accuracy in the film whatsoever.
Sure.
And it's not meant to. The film, Nottingham never ever looked like that and never would have looked like that. The clothes they're wearing clearly are not the clothes they're wearing in the medieval. It's not meant to be a history lesson, But, for me, I wanted to tell a big, big story. Now, if you've got a guy causing a small revolution in a small town in the north of England, so what? So let's turn Nottingham into this thriving kind of metropolis, the industrial capital of England, the religious capital of England, the political capital of England, so that therefore if a revolution starts there, that's going to have, its big scale. So it's really all about making the film feel bigger and feel more modern.
I would imagine you did test screenings or early friends and family screenings. What did you learn from those screenings that impacted the finished film?
what was really interesting about it is that when you're doing a screening of a film, nobody's seen any press, nobody's seen any print, nobody's seen any trailers. So people come into a Robin Hood film and they kind of go, expecting the traditional Robin Hood film. So it was interesting watching people kind of recalibrate in the cinema and kind of go, and often people would take a while to kind of. But I think what's happening now and what we're seeing now is that because there's been all the trailers have come out and there's been materials, people have seen, okay, this is not Men in Tights. So they're already prepared for how different and how extreme this film is.
Sure. I'm always curious about deleted scenes. What didn't make the finished cut? Did you have a lot, or was it just like a few?
No, there's a lot. There's a lot that we wanted to get in this film. There's the buddy relationship between John and Robin. There's the love story, the love triangle between Jamie Dornan's character, Eve Hewson's character, and Taron Egerton. There's the political themes, the religious stuff. And there was a lot, and the film was creaking under the weight of all of that. And so, we had to do a bit of balancing. You have to kind of sacrifice a few of your babies to sort of to make the whole thing stand up. So there's some stuff that didn't make it, and there's some arcs that are, that we didn't, paint as, or spend as much time on as we might have with other arcs, So, but that's when you're making a big movie like this, that's, you want it to appeal to a broad audience. That's the juggle. There are going to be sacrifices, and there are going to be things that stories that you really want to tell, or somebody really wants to tell, but you realise that actually it's affecting sort of the bigger picture.
Sure. I mean, I've spoken to many filmmakers, and they have a 3-hour cut. What ends up in theaters is 220.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. I was always really committed to it being sub 100, minutes. I'm very passionate about stories being told, short and fast. It wasn't so much about the length. I never wanted the film to be 2.5 hours long, because I just don't like those kind of movies. It was more just about your choices. Which little paths are you going down?
Before I run out of time with you, I'm very curious and excited for his Dark Materials.
Yeah.
I believe you're working on that.
I am. Yeah, we're in the middle of shooting and editing at the same time. It's a really exciting project. BBC, HBO, they're going for it big time. And what's exciting about it is they're giving it the space. We're spending 8 hours on just the first book for the first season. And then the second season will be the second book, this kind of stuff. So we're really we've got the space there to tell the story to the same kind of depth and magic that Philip Pullman told it in the first place.
Sure. For people that aren't familiar, what was it about? And I gotta go. But what was it about that book and the material that said I want to do this?
It's for me. It's the whole magisterium story in there. It's kind of like there are similarities between this and Robin Hood. Any book or any piece of storytelling that challenges the status quo, that challenges the structure and the ideals and the beliefs that we've created and allowed and furnished in society. Anything that kind of comes in and goes, hang on. Is that true? And actually, is the church the organisation of moral? You know what I mean? Anything that comes in and kind of rattles the cage and kind of asks us, the bigger questions, I get excited by.
Thank you so much. Congrats on the movie. Good luck with all the interviews.
Thank you very much.